The Pentagon says Ukraine has received its cluster munitions as US President Joe Biden says that Russia has already lost the war.
Russia's lower house adopts a bill banning gender change in what is seen as a new blow to LGBTQ+ rights. India has successfully launched an unmanned rocket carrying a robot explorer in its second bid to land one on the moon.
Ukraine has received American cluster munitions, according to the Pentagon and Kyiv. Officials in the south of the country say the weapons can radically change the situation on the battlefield. It follows President Joe Biden's visit to Finland, NATO's latest new member. Biden says Russia has already lost the conflict.
There is no possibility of him winning the war in Ukraine. He's already lost that war. My hope is, and my expectation is, you'll see that Ukraine makes significant progress on their offensive and that it generates a negotiated settlement somewhere along the line.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian troops expressed frustration that the country couldn't join NATO immediately. But the G7 powers did vow to back Ukraine.
Пройшла лише доба після Вільнюсу, а до 7 найбільших демократій світу, з якими ми вчора погодили гарантії безпеки, приєднались вже 6 країн. Це Чехія, Данія, Нідерланди, Норвегія, Іспанія та Швеція. Дякую. Впевнений, коло гарантерів буде збільшуватись.
Over in Russia, President Vladimir Putin says that Ukraine's possible NATO membership wouldn't improve Ukraine's security. He added that it would make the world more vulnerable and lead to additional tensions. France has awarded the Légion d'honneur to journalist Armand Soldan posthumously. The 32-year-old was tragically killed during a missile strike near Bakhmut in Ukraine on May the 9th. He was born in Sarajevo and sought refuge in France as a child, fleeing war-torn Bosnia on a humanitarian flight in 1992. The French national was a reporter for AFP and said he was drawn to telling stories of people displaced by fighting, stemming from his family's experience fleeing conflict.
Russia's lower house has passed a law banning gender-affirming procedures, including surgeries. The only exception is medical interventions to treat congenital anomalies. The law also prevents people from changing their gender on official documents and bars transgender couples from fostering or adopting children. It was passed unanimously in the State Duma.
Мы с вами единственная страна европейская, которая сегодня противодействует тому, что происходит в Штатах, в Европе, и делает все для сохранения семьи, традиционных ценностей.
Amid post-Soviet reforms in the 1990s, some gender transition procedures became possible in Russia. Campaigners say the removal of those rights will have grave consequences.
После принятия законопроекта суицидальные риски вырастут во много раз. И здесь мне больше всего страшнее за подростков, которым еще нет 18 лет, потому что они, испытывая дисфорию, находясь в непринимающей семье.
The law, which still needs to be passed by the upper house, is the latest blow to LGBTQ+ rights in Russia. The Kremlin has previously banned any public endorsement of non-traditional sexual relations among minors, and same-sex marriages were outlawed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Target: the moon. India has successfully launched Chandrayaan-3, an unmanned rocket carrying a robot explorer to the south pole of the Earth satellite. The mission will last 14 days and cost nearly 67 million euros. If successful, India will join the select club of countries, Russia, the United States and China, who've successfully completed a controlled lunar landing. India made a first attempt 4 years ago, but that rocket lost contact with the Earth shortly before landing on the moon.
Hollywood actors have walked off sets to join writers in the first joint strike in more than 6 decades. Union leaders have voted to shut down production across the industry after last-ditch talks with the studios and streaming services over pay and the threat posed by artificial intelligence broke down.
The entire business model has been changed by streaming, digital, AI. This is a moment of history. That is a moment of truth. If we don't stand tall right now, we are all going to be in trouble. We are all going to be in jeopardy of being replaced by machines.
In London, the premiere of Christopher Nolan's film Oppenheimer was pushed forward an hour so the cast could walk the red carpet before the board's announcement. It's the first strike for actors from film and television shows since 1980.
More money for more weapons. On Thursday, the European Parliament adopted what's known as Regulation ASAP, which earmarks €500 million from the EU's budget to finance its industrial production capacity for ammunition like ground-to-ground missiles and artillery. The bill proposed by the European Commission in May was fast-tracked through the EU legislative process, and almost all the political groups backed it in the final vote. Their main reason being to support Ukraine against the Russian invasion.
We should not refrain from defensive capabilities support like the one that we are giving with these regulations, so that we can have Ukraine not be without the munitions they need to defend themselves from the aggression.
And then there's a specific inserted paragraph about making sure that these extra resources with the increases of ammunition production are meant for Ukraine, and then secondly to then also supply our own storages that have been depleted by supporting Ukraine.
It's the first time that the European Union directly finances weapons production. But not every MEP is happy about it, with opposition coming mainly from the left.
So this means that we now have a situation in which the European Union funds not just research and development for arms, does not just buy arms, but is also going to fund directly the production of weapons from companies that are making excessive profits already. I mean, the war in Ukraine for weapons companies has been a blessing, you know, so they're making excess profits, and we're gonna basically subsidize their production. It's a big mistake. This money should go somewhere else, into public services. Hospitals, schools throughout Europe need that money.
The money for Europe's military industry will come from 2 EU defence funds. But national governments can also top up their money by using their pandemic recovery and resilience plans. Final adoption of the regulation by member states is expected before the summer break.
550 migrants from an Italian Coast Guard vessel disembarked at the southern port of Reggio Calabria on Friday. Reports suggest the parents of a child whose body was found off the coast of Lampedusa were on board the vessel, which had been carrying 800 migrants. The remaining 250 were set to disembark in nearby Messina. In April, Italy's right-wing government declared a 6-month national state of emergency to help it cope with a surge in migrants arriving on the country's southern shores.
The city of Venice is facing a critical shortage of family doctors and has launched a vibrant campaign titled "Doctor, the most beautiful city in the world awaits you." There are 44 positions available soon in the floating city. The regional government says it's providing highly competitive incentives to attract GPs from around the globe.
Recuperare, di trovare degli ambulatori o degli alloggi a prezzi calmierati, nel cercare di mettere a disposizione del personale nei collegamenti con l'ospedale e quindi con la parte ospedaliera, proprio per agevolare anche la cura e l'assistenza del paziente, della persona e del cittadino.
Doctors from Italy and Brazil have so far responded to the advert. The average monthly salaries will range from €2,500 to €5,000 net, depending on the doctor's experience and the number of patients. The reason for the need is because almost all of the 44 family doctors in the city will reach the retirement age of 70 during the coming years.
Italy's stunning stretches of Adriatic coastline draw scores of holidaymakers and sun worshippers at this time of year. But now tourists are being urged to take extra care while stepping through the sand. A loggerhead sea turtle laid no fewer than 91 eggs along this busy shoreline in Serbia last month, forcing marine biologists to intervene.
Siamo andati a raccogliere queste 91 uova che erano state deposte dalla femmina e le abbiamo spostate in un nuovo nido che è stato ricostruito uguale, identico a quello originario, e le uova sono state rimesse nello stesso identico ordine.
The new nest is fenced off and guarded around the clock by up to 130 volunteers. Marine turtles have long inhabited the Adriatic Sea during the summer months. But over the last few years, researchers have spotted more of these marine reptiles here during the winter.
Col cambiamento climatico probabilmente, con le acque sempre più calde, le tartarughe tendono sempre di più a stazionare anche nelle nostre acque, che sono solitamente sempre state frequentate da tartarughe perché l'Alto Adriatico è una zona di alimentazione, e anche nelle stagioni in cui contrariamente in altre epoche se ne andavano, tipo l'inverno.
The adults need protecting too. Many end up beached, caught in fishing nets or injured by propeller blades and find themselves in this turtle clinic.
Verso la seconda metà di agosto le uova si schiuderanno e da quel nido sotto la sabbia usciranno delle mini tartarughe che, senza pensarci due volte, correranno verso il mare.